Synapsin is a combination of ginsenoside RG3, which is one of the most active forms of ginseng, in combination with nicotinamide riboside, which is a precursor for B3 vitamin. It's helping decrease the neuroinflammation that is present in a number of different neurodegenerative disorders, whether that's autism, stroke patients, traumatic brain injury, Lyme disease, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, brain fog. There's a number and countless numbers of disorders that this possibly could benefit. Today we have a very special guest, Ms. Sherry Wagley.
Thank you, James, for even inviting me. I do have a special young man in our life. His name is Ryan, and he's 30 years old with a diagnosis of cerebral palsy with a seizure disorder. He received and very young in his life, they told us he would live 4 hours, and Ryan is 30 years old today. So we've had many, many, many obstacles in our life, and we've had many miracles in our life. Ryan today is doing very well due to the medication that we're about to discuss. It's been life-changing for us, and that's what we're here to talk about, is the possibilities it can create for others.
Ryan, the way he, the things that we can describe with him, specifically before we initiated anything with this product, we actually still have the nonverbal aspect of it.
Correct.
Could you detail some of the fine motor skills or the controls as far as the voluntary movements?
Absolutely. The one thing I want to pick up on is sleep. Sleep is a huge problem and has been his whole life, to the point of being a nightmare. As a baby, he slept 45 minutes at a time, and we did that for years and years. We got to the point where we'd sleep 2 or 3 hours. You feel unsurvivable because I had other children to care for also. OT-wise, Ryan has very poor fine motor skills. He can feed himself with a spoon pretty well if I use a pasta bowl of sorts. But besides that, any playing he would do would because we would initiate or we would do hand over hand. There was no independent play for Ryan. He just chews on things. PT-wise, Ryan can walk. He has a very heavy gait to his walk, but he gets around pretty well on his more controlled seizure days. Speech, Ryan had 5 words before he started seizuring at the age of 3. He's been nonverbal since. He does not have the capability to sign to us because he doesn't have the fine motor ability, which takes us back to the OT piece.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. That's very helpful. So then we can kind of segue that into the implementation of Synapsin and some of the pictures that are associated with that. So how long has Ryan been taking the product?
About 3.5 months now. We started about mid-December.
Mm-hmm. Based off of the symptoms we talked about prior to that, what have you noticed as far as positive impact with this medication?
We've had huge impact in a variety of ways. The first one would have been sleep. For example, Ryan slept 7 hours last night. Now, that's not consistently every night, but we're consistently over 5 hours plus. So that is life-changing for us, me as a human being, and Ryan, just as I always said if we could get him to sleep, I think his brain would have time to heal. But that was never possible, and we've used every drug on the market to help him sleep, unsuccessfully. So sleep was huge for us. The other thing is seizure control. We've noticed that as Ryan has gotten sick, when Ryan becomes sick with even a sinus infection or anything like that, Ryan starts seizuring, which means we then use emergency drugs. Since we've been on Synapsin, I don't have to use my emergency drugs when he's sick. We keep the Synapsin level where it is all the time, but it seems to control us as we go through the ups and downs of life that Ryan endures. The other thing that we've seen from it is Ryan's cognitive ability. Ryan's chewing on items has slowed down, to maybe 20% compared to before. Ryan now can, OT-wise, do more fine motor, picking things up with 2 fingers instead of fist, and grabbing things kind of as a bulk. He is turning pages now. He's not destroying things. Cognitively, Ryan will sit down on the floor, play independently, dump toys out, pick them up, put them in the container, and play for hours. That has never happened in his life. There's not been anything with Ryan that I would describe as independent. He has full care for everything in his life.
The last thing that I wanted to, if you would be willing to share, was because we have a video of some
Yes.
of the story of Ryan, and you had alluded to some of the fine motor skills that he
Yes.
had. Could you detail some of the his experiences with some of the thicker cardboard books as opposed to what he did with the magazine?
Yes. 2 things I want to really point out is when you see the picture of Ryan prior to Synapsins, just notice his eyes. His eyes tell you everything. He has circles under his eyes. He's kind of different and very distant. He just looks like he feels awful. And then go to the video we're referencing right here. Ryan is sitting, if you notice, underneath the magazine is a play box that is probably put on cribs, and it has music in it. And you push the starfish and it plays music. On top of that, he's put a magazine, and a standard magazine, not a child's book that's made out of cardboard that's thicker. It's a typical magazine. He is turning that magazine page by page and looking at the pictures. Ryan's never turned anything page by page, number 1. Number 2, we don't give him anything that's paper because he destroys it and throws it and shreds it. Look at his intent of looking at every magazine. He's not pulling the magazine close to him visually. He's at a standard distance. Look at his concentration. Everything is intentional. He's totally focused, and he stayed there for an hour and a half. Never has it happened in his life. We hoped he would play for 5 minutes.
Wow, that's just amazing.
Life-changing in our home.
That's just amazing to hear.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing that.